So this week, let's talk about brand stickiness, right? So there is a good chance that many of times we stop to wonder why customers disappear after just one purchase, while some other customers keep coming back almost like a clockwork. Why do some brands become an unshakable habit, so much ingrained in our daily life that customers don't even think about switching that brand? While others fade into irrelevance the moment the transaction is over. For instance, if you take Netflix, uh, there are numerous other streaming services which releases very good originals, very good movies from time to time. We go there and buy 1 month of purchase and watch that and let it expire. But we don't just do that on the Netflix. Why do we do that? Why do customers do that? Because they don't just buy the brands, they stick to them. Some brands become a default choice, a natural habit, a seamless part of life without customers even realizing it. And when that happens, customer acquisition stops feeling like a constant battle, or you feel like the effort has been stopped and the revenue starts to sustain by itself in a way that is very effortless, and that's what we call as brand stickiness, the key to returning one time buyers into lifetime customers. And this video is particularly diving into the science, the psychology, the business strategies that makes brands so sticky they are nearly impossible to leave. So first of all, what is brand stickiness in its definitive form? uh, so brand stickiness is the ability of a brand uh, to make customers keep coming back without needing to nudge them or without the constant chasing of them. It's when a brand is not just a choice, it's the choice. You your 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 customers don't feel your brand is one among the other as a choice, but they think that it is the only choice that they need to select when it comes to their requirement or need. A brand that customers turn to automatically without the hesitation, without re-evaluating alternatives, and often without even realizing it. That's what truly the brand stickiness in play. Think about how people instinctively open Google when there are multiple other search engines available there. Even though countless alternatives available, the default choice is that they go to Google and they research for what they want. Or how customers keep using Netflix. Even other streaming services might have better content, better pricing, or more variety of content. So that's what we call brand stickiness in action, when a brand becomes so ingrained in behavior that switching does not even cross your customer's mind. Okay, so now let's see, why does the brand stickiness actually matter, and why we as a marketer should care. Because in business, getting customers is the most hardest thing, but keeping them is extremely harder than that's where the real profit lies. Sticky brands drive long-term revenue growth because higher retention is equal to lower acquisition cost. Acquiring new customers cost 5 times actually more than keeping one existing customers. So if customers stay longer, brands don't have to constantly spend on marketing to replace the lost buyers. So more repeat purchases. Yeah, the second point is that more repeat purchases and subscription renewals. So sticky brands actually make customers return automatically, generating steady and predictable revenue. So it makes the revenue predictable, far more accurate or effortless. So you will have that confidence to predict how much the revenue you will be able to reach when you can say that your brand is very sticky in the market that you are playing. Amazon Prime, for example, people renew their memberships year after year without hesitation because the perks become part of their routine and they don't need to put any effort to realize that perks. So every time they make an order, they instinctively feel that they are getting the reward for being an Amazon Prime member. So that's what the brand stickiness in play is about. So higher customers lifetime value is another key factor. The longer the customer sticks around your brand, the more they spend and more profitable each relationship becomes. For instance, let's take the SaaS like Adobe Creative Cloud. One customers invest time learning Photoshop, Illustrator, or Premiere Pro, then they are reluctant to switch. They cannot simply afford to switch to another software because they have put in their time, heart into that particular software that takes a considerable amount of time. And finally, the stronger word of mouth. Customers don't just stay, they bring others in. So Tesla customers are so engaged with the brand that they convince their friends, their family to buy one to without Tesla spending a dollar on traditional advertising, right? So so there are few factors in play, which is psychology, which is a strategy behind the brand stickiness, and then uh, market forces, and I mean all of these factors are in play when it comes to brand stickiness. Let's take one by one. Okay, so when it comes to psychology, okay, so when it comes to psychology, the number one driver is ego and status. So it's like the I made the right choice effect. They don't want to give up on their egos. So customers just don't buy products, they buy a sense of identity. They have made the choice and they believe the choice they have made is far superior. Nobody likes to admit they made the wrong choice, so that double down on the brands that they chosen. For instance, take an example of BlackBerry. Once it was a symbol of business prestige, users convinced themselves it was still superior, even as competitors surpassed in innovation. I have still seen so many people uh, praising about BlackBerry. So that's the kind of ego that they have. Sunk cost fallacy is another driver within the psychological drivers. So it's like I have invested too much to leave. The more time, the more money, the effort a customer puts into a brand, the harder it is to walk away. Salesforce, for example, businesses invest in years of training employees, customers, and customizing workflows, making switching feel like throwing away the progress. It simply cannot be done in a 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 shorter period of time. Okay, so then the third thing is that fear of loss or regret. It makes you to think, what if I miss out? People fear losing what they already have more than they desire gaining something new. The first point of protection comes to the things that they actually own, and then they think about owning something new. If you take Apple's iMessage or FaceTime, users hesitate to switch to Android because they don't want to lose that seamless experience of Apple's ecosystem. If each and every of these apps interplay between nicely between each other. So that's the number one hesitation. People hesitate to switch to Android who are so accustomed to Apple's ecosystem, and that makes them to buy an iMac, or they make to buy iPad, and so the ecosystem gets larger. The dependency on that ecosystem is also growing larger. And finally, the familiarity and routine. Customers trust what they know. Repeated exposure turns a brand into a comfortable, familiar choice. If you take McDonald's an example, wherever customers go, they order the same items, not because they are the best, but because they're just predictable and safe. They know that it is safe. Instead of trying something new and put them into a bad situation, like maybe on a highway trip, they don't want to do that. They want to be safe. They want to have make a predictable choice. Okay, so now that's with the psychological barrier. We can see the business strategies behind the brand stickiness. These are purposefully, deliberately done choices by brands to make it more sticky to their customers. The number one is ecosystem lock-in. Ecosystem lock-in in the sense, in to put it in a raw way, it makes switching painful. So, for example, if you take um, Salesforce, for example, or Microsoft 365 example, switching to Google Workspace is not just about software, it's migrating an entire work environment so difficult. The deeper a product's integration into a customer's workflow or a daily life, the harder it is to leave. And that's what the ecosystem lock-in is working. That's how the ecosystem lock-in is working. Okay. Then subscription loyalty models keep customers committed, recurring billing, perks. You keep throwing the perks to your loyal customers, and that makes the habit formation thing for them. For example, if you take Adobe Creative Cloud, Once customers rely on Photoshop or Premiere Pro, they are locked in for years. Like, they tend to increase they tend to extend the subscription period of their subscription. For example, one may start with 1 month subscription, and when they start producing really good content, then they switch to yearly. And sometimes you suddenly get an offer for 3 years of subscription. You cannot stop yourself from tempting to choose that. And if it is nearer to the period of your expiry, you simply choose that date. And what happens, it totally makes 4 years you are staying in that ecosystem. And in that 4 years you focus more on learning that uh, Photoshop or Premiere Pros things. And you, without even realizing that, you instinctively become so close to that platform that you cannot even think about switching to something else, because you know that you are ingrained to it, and it will take a lot of effort, a lot of time to switch to something else, right? Their high switching cost make also a very good reason that the brands are using to keep the customers sticked in. This simply makes leaving more expensive or highly inconvenient. Some brands make quitting feel like a more trouble than it's worth. For example, if you say SAP ERPs, companies invest millions in SAP products. What happens when you decide to migrate or move away from SAP? You cannot simply afford it, and there is a whole group of buying decision people. They will start they will start putting the reasons that why they cannot able to migrate away from SAP, right? So that's what we say as making leaving expensive or inconvenient. And another thing is habit forming experiences. The easier a brand is to use, the more likely is it to become a daily habit. Example, Shopify's AI driven personalized playlist. It makes alternative platforms feel more generic in comparison, because the more the songs you hear in Spotify, the more personalized you will have. I mean, the more personalized the new song suggestions for you. It understand what kind of tone, what kind of rhythms, what kind of ups and downs, and what time you will be listening to what kind of songs. It knows everything, so the suggestions it makes feels more likable for you. That experience simply cannot be replaced by any other apps, because the longer you have stayed, the longer the data you have fed to that app, the better it becomes, the better suitable for you it becomes. And that's how you become locked into that app. So, what's the lesson here? Brand stickiness is not just about selling a product; it's about making leaving feel like a loss. So the best brands don't chase the customers; they create habits. They don't sell; they integrate into daily life, integrate into the daily life of the customers. The more a brands becomes a second nature, the harder it is to replace. So. If you think of any other brands that I have not mentioned in this example, that you think that they have done that brand stickiness so really well that customers cannot seem to leave, please share that in the comment box. And as usual, yes, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives into user behavior, psychology, brands, and demand generation in marketing. Thank you. See you next week.